What is going on YouTube? This is Brian back with Bayou Consumer Tech. Today we're going to be messing with adding my Raspberry Pi. You can see it says FT5. It used to be on my 3D printer, but now it has a SD card in it with an image, the Wolfenose edited image on it. I have a directional mic, so you may not be able to hear me very good. This is currently the image that's on it, and I will be putting it in my Street Fighter Arcade 1-Up cabinet, as well as changing all of the buttons and all of that stuff. So, stay tuned. Alright everybody, we're going to go ahead and swap over to the parts on the back of the LCD panel. Everything that I use, I'll go ahead and add the Amazon link in the description box below to all of the parts needed. This is going to be a LCD converter. Basically, it'll allow you to install, where's it at? HDMI to the LCD screen, and that comes in the arcade 1-Up cabinet, as well as audio outputs, VGA, all of that stuff. There's another piece in here, I'm not exactly sure what it does, but we're only going to use this board and the option panel with the switches. So we'll go ahead and unbolt the stock panel on the back of the LCD. Plug that wire. Unplug the 30-pin connector. Also the ground wire in the corner. I've seen other videos before where it says that their kits didn't come with the grounding nut for this board. Surprisingly, mine actually did come with it. Go ahead for the new board. Got the ground. Mine actually did come with one. We'll go ahead and plug in the 30-pin connector. Red wires to the left. I can line it up. There we go. Try not to bend the connector. We're going to be pushing it in. Take the CFL connector, plug it in over here to the left. It only goes in one way. See, there's a little slack stuck inside of the LCD panel. We'll double-sided tape it down here. Don't double-sided tape it to the back of the screen. You may get some kind of interference or anything. You don't need any kind of heat transfer or whatever. We'll go ahead and double-side it to that. Before I go any further with mounting anything, I'll go ahead and hook up the HDMI cable. Just double check that, make sure everything that it works. I forgot to mention that the Arcade 1-Up power supply works perfect for this board. So go ahead and plug that in. I'll plug in, power up my Raspberry Pi. Come around here, as you can see, it is working. Got a little LED light on my GoPro, turn down a little bit. Just give her a minute, see what it does. Set this down real quick. As you can see, I don't have the ribbon cable coming from the stock controls going into the Raspberry Pi. I actually do have, as you can see, that's still plugged into the old board. We're going to get rid of that. We'll no longer need this. I actually have some new controller buttons, like Sandwatt knockoff buttons or replica buttons, that I'm gonna swap everything over to. It's a light up LED buttons, and those will connect into the Raspberry Pi's USB port on the back of it. Currently I have a wired Xbox 360 controller that I used to play this on my TV. Well, not exactly this TV, but just purpose of this video to that TV. So I'll go ahead and unplug everything, all of the power to this. We'll go ahead and get the controllers, or the buttons and the joysticks on the front of the screen swapped over, and add an amp to the back of it, and double check everything, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, now obviously for this, you take out the 4 Phillips head screws. If you happen to put this together yourself, then obviously you know how it goes together. If not, it's only 4 Phillips head screws on each side. Go ahead and lift it up. You have that ribbon cable. It's no longer going to be used. I'm going to just pull it out. As well as the old board, you no longer need it. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Phillips head screws holding this cover on that we need to take off to put the new joysticks and the buttons. Probably be a lot easier if I had a workbench in here, but I don't, so that's what I'm gonna use. Drop one. And this is what you get. All of this stuff's going to be replaced with, for this setup, we're going to keep the stock speaker. I'm going to go ahead and cut all these zip ties off. These have 2 tabs that you push to pop the button out. We're not going to worry about unsoldering anything. We're just going to unplug them from this circuit board and just pull them straight out, just in case if you ever want to reuse them or anything. Really doesn't matter. All of this is going to be taken out except for the on-off button and the volume button and the stock speaker. I've seen some people take stock speakers and put them on the back side of their cabinet or down here in the front or whatever, but we're just going to use a stock one with an amplifier that I purchased separately. So we'll go ahead and get all that installed. This is going to be the amp that I'm going to use for this setup. The amp that I've seen a lot of other people using, it was sold out on Amazon whenever I went to purchase. It's got 2 inputs. This one does come with the power cord as well as RCA input, left and right. For this setup, the Raspberry Pi uses 3.5mm jack, so I'm going to use the RCA to 3.5mm converter to go from this amp going into the Raspberry Pi. So it'll go from the Pi to this amp, and then from the speaker wires, it does have a connector on the back of it. I'm going to cut that speaker wire off and put the speaker wires in here. So everything's going to be powered to the speaker so you can hear the audio. Alright, as you can see, we have two different sets of buttons. One for player 1, player 2, whichever color you set up is however you want to do. We have 6 buttons on this particular cabinet. We got 6 buttons on player 1, 6 on player 2. You have player 1 and player 2 buttons. For the Raspberry Pi, we're going to set up, we actually have to drill 2 extra buttons in to use for, select for the Raspberry Pi and use it for hotkeys as well. The image that I have, it is an arcade image. It has more than 2,000 games on it, courtesy of Wolfenose. So, basically it's treated as an arcade machine, as if you were going to the arcade where you put in quarters. You would press the button to give you quarters or credits for you to be able to play the games. And these you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It does have extra buttons than what you need. Looks like it's got 2 smaller buttons. I believe those are 24mm and the bigger ones are 30mm. I'm gonna use the bigger ones. I have a Forstner bit that's gonna cut the 2 extra holes. It's the same size as the stock buttons. We'll go ahead and get everything wired in. So I'll go ahead and unpackage all of these. I'll remove all of this stuff, and we'll go ahead and wire the new buttons in as well. The button kit does come with USB encoders. It's got this USB on one side, and it's got the regular USB that would actually plug into the Raspberry Pi to be able to recognize the new controllers that we set up. Okay, as you can see, I already got my 2 extra holes drilled. I just drilled them right on side of the already stock one and the first player and second player button. These 2 connectors right here, these buttons do have LEDs in them, so they light up. These two connectors here, that's on the gray part on this particular kit, this is for the button. Just say this, if this wire plugged in, it doesn't matter which one is which. All it does is complete the circuit whenever the button's pressed to let the Pi know, or the USB encoders know that you're pressing the button. These two are for the LEDs. They are polarity sensitive. I don't know if you can really make it out on camera. Looking at it like this, the left shows negative, right shows positive. Those do need to be plugged in correctly. It does come with a daisy chain wiring harness to connect the LEDs on all of them, and then they plug into the USB encoder. These just have to be plugged in a certain way. If you look at it like this, it really doesn't matter which ones get plugged in where, they just all need to be plugged in the exact same. For this button and this button, they need to be in the same port on this one. It doesn't really matter which one, as long as each button on each side plug into the exact same encoder for each player. If not, they'll probably map different whenever you turn the Raspberry Pi on and off. Just make sure that if this is button 1, go in the first one. Button 1, first one. Button 2, same one. And all the way through until they're all plugged in. Alright, moving on to the wiring. I'm going to go ahead and start wiring up the buttons themselves. Again, the polarity on the button part of these does not matter. But once you start wiring up the LEDs, that does matter. So in this particular encoder that I got, like I said, it has USB. So I'm going to start from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's the way I'm going to wire them, and I'm going to start here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll just go down the line. Alright, once we go ahead and get all of the buttons wired up, like you'll see, find a good spot where you can actually mount it with some double-sided tape where it's not exactly pulling on the wires too hard. As for the new joysticks, you will have to drill new pilot holes, as the pilot holes that came with the stock joysticks, they will not line back up. So go ahead and take a small drill bit, drill some new pilot holes, make sure not to force it so you don't go all the way through the front of the panel. And you can use the same screws to secure the new joysticks to the back side of the board. Go ahead and plug these in. These only have one spot on the USB encoder. As you can see, I've not secured the USB encoders yet. I'll do that once I get the LED wires wired in, and then I'll use some double-sided tape and secure them to the back side of the board. I'll go ahead and take care of that now. Okay, well, I got all of the LEDs daisy chained in. At the very end there's one connector. It plugs into one of the red inputs on the USB encoder. That's a 5 volt output for the LEDs, and that is it. Make sure to go ahead and, as you can see from my speaker, I already went ahead and cut off the connector, and I'll add it into the amp. Go ahead and tuck everything back in. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to go ahead and tuck it in now. I will go back and clean everything up with some zip ties and all. Alright, well, I'm going to go ahead and wire everything up. Go ahead and plug it in the HDMI and start securing everything as I go. we'll have a power strip at the bottom of the cabinet to secure all of these, or to plug in all of these connectors to. I forget, we're gonna have the 2 encoders coming from up front. They're USB plugs in here. Just using double-sided tape on everything to secure it in place. Oh, permanent. Not exactly sure which spot on the speaker is positive or negative, but if it sounds a little off, go ahead and swap them. Power on, off, bass setting, volume, treble. Turn it this way so I can get to the settings. And now, come to think of it, I have no idea where my RCA to 3.5mm audio jack is. I'll have to find it or purchase another one if I can't find it. Walmart carries these, Amazon or anything. So once I get all this put together, obviously I won't be able to check the audio since I cannot find my cable. But we'll go ahead and get everything else buttoned up and connected. Alright, we got everything wired up, everything's powered on. Let the Raspberry Pi image boot up. Should be booting up into emulation station. Hopefully the first thing that loads up should be able to input the controls for the buttons. Yep, hold the button on your device to configure it. D-pad up, down, left, right, start, select. Once you get to the point where you run out of buttons, just go ahead and press and hold anything and it'll skip on to the next one. We'll go ahead and check something out and see how it works. So, let's see, Capcom. Now again, I don't have the RCA to 3.5 millimeter jack connected to the amp in the arcade cabinet right now, so the speaker's not going to work right now. I have to go look for it, and if I can't find it, I'll just go buy another one and connect to it, and that stock speaker should work. But for now, we'll just go ahead and check out the buttons, make sure everything's working right. Insert coin. You see the dedicated this as a hotkey, so it says credit 1, credit 2. It's just the same as if I'm putting in quarters into a real arcade machine. Press start. Wish I would have found that cable before I started making this video so I can actually hear everything, but I'm pretty sure everything is wired in correctly and audio is all right. Press select to start and go back to main menu. Let's check another game. Again, this Wolf and Nose image, it's a 32 gig image. It has just over 2,000 games on it. I did download it from the internet and added it to my SD card for the Raspberry Pi to recognize. As you see, press the hotkey, acting as it's giving you quarters. This particular image does have a spot where you can, it already has the GPIO code programmed into it. So again, this doesn't work, this doesn't work. So you can actually use the GPIO pin to turn off the Raspberry Pi instead of just unplugging it, which could erase your card or something like that. It's just like any computer, you're not supposed to just press the button and hard turn it off. It's supposed to be shut down properly. Alright everybody, I'm back again. At least back the very next day after I did the install and everything. I just wanted to hurry up and throw the end of this video together, showing that I actually did go to Walmart and purchase the RCA to 3.5 millimeter jack for the sound. I already threw it in. Just gonna hurry up and show you that it does work with this amp that I purchased. It actually sounds really good. I did a little bit more research and I found an article that actually shows you how to wire this up into the Raspberry Pi to be able to shut the Pi down, or at least put it in like a standby mode. If I can get that to work, I'll do another little short video and upload it at a later time. I'm just going to hurry up and show this to prove that the amp and the RCA 3.5 millimeter jack adapter does work. You probably can't hear the clicking right now, the sound, but it actually is working. Oh, there you go. All games, this 2,421 games available on this image. So as you can see, the sound does work with this amp. There's tons of games on here for you to choose from. just pick one real quick just to end the video. And the same article that shows about the shutdown or turning off the Pi with this button, it actually does have something about using the volume, tying it into the Pi also. I'll try to mess with that. I'm not too familiar with the Raspberry Pis, with all of the writing the config text and everything, but if I'm actually successful, I'll reverse it and then do it again and make a video of it and upload it. I have the amp turned up kind of loud.
Ready. Fight.
So, as you can see, it works. If you don't mind, give it a thumbs up, give it a share. Go ahead and stop that so you can hear me. Give it a thumbs up, give it a share if you don't mind. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.